Hello, and welcome to my Informal Assessment Strategy video for PIDP 3230. The assessment strategy I've chosen is reading rating sheets. Reading rating sheets are a type of classroom assessment technique that instructors can use in order to collect feedback on how students feel about a given course's reading materials. Instructors can gain an understanding as to how students feel about certain readings without singling out individual students to get their opinions. Students fill out forms that request responses to their reactions on course readings, and in turn, instructors are able to gain insight as to whether or not learners found the material appealing, uninteresting, applicable, relatable, irrelevant, motivating, or even whether or not the information was clear. There are 5 steps in creating a reading rating sheet. Number 1. Prior to students completing a course reading, the instructor must determine the reason behind wanting learners to rate what they will read. Such reasons could include wanting to know if the students find the readings beneficial or applicable to their learning, if it is beyond or below their comprehension levels, and whether or not it should be made a part of future syllabi. Using no more than 4 or 5 questions, the instructor should inquire about the given reading activity in order to get responses about the students' reactions and feelings towards the material. It is best to keep this portion simple, with yes, no, or multiple choice questions, along with 1 or 2 short answer questions to elicit a more personal reason and explanation. In order to gauge comprehension, 1 question should assess how thoroughly the learner read the course reading. This will help identify if the material was too difficult to understand or if they read the material properly. Prior to giving students the reading rating sheet, instructors should test the questions out on themselves. In doing so, instructors are able to revise and edit as they see fit and catch items they may not have noticed at first glance. Reading rating sheets are to be completed soon after the reading is complete. They can be filled out during class time, given to take home with homework, or even provided as the first activity when starting class the next day after reading. When instructors have some leeway in choosing course readings, they are not necessarily part of a predetermined syllabus or curriculum. They may need some feedback from the readers themselves to see if this works in tandem with their learning goals. Reading rating sheets can provide this insight. The classroom assessment technique works best in helping instructors decide whether they should or should not include readings in future syllabi, whether they are newer items or readings that have been in use for quite a while. They also work well when instructors are trying to focus student attention on specific parts of a text. With properly formed questions, instructors can help bring students' focus to these points. Feedback may not always be accurate. Regardless of the content, some learners may be adverse to reading in general. In turn, they may be inclined to rate this activity with low scores and negative feedback solely based on their dislike for reading. They may also do the same if a reading is too challenging, where students may describe a reading as boring or irrelevant instead of giving feedback that the reading was beyond their comprehension level. Another limitation is that some feedback can come from students who have not done the readings. Their responses will not provide any useful data as they are not based on the subject at hand. As mentioned earlier, reading rating sheets act as a guiding compass in regards to whether or not course readings are a proper fit for a given class and its students. They provide instructors with insights as to how well students read assignments and what reactions they elicit from the learners. This assessment technique shows that it is not just the instructor who has perspectives on the validity and relevance of a reading, but the student's input is just as valuable. By seeking out student participation, instructors can receive first-hand feedback on the usefulness and clarity of course materials. Also, reading rating sheets help draw students' attention to the value in developing readings as a lifelong learning skill. By giving students these questionnaires, they serve as a tool to help learners evaluate what they have just read. With many learners, this is a new skill that they are learning to use to help further their understanding and develop their reading abilities. Goals that reading rating sheets work in tandem with include improving students' reading skills, helping develop appropriate study skills, teaching evaluation methods without a given subject, striving for an active commitment to honest feedback, and developing the capacity to think for oneself. Instructors should make sure they are asking questions that are relevant to the information they are looking to get more insight on. Just as students want to know what they are learning is applicable and not simply a time filler, instructors should be doing the same. Questions should not imply that reading assignments will be eliminated unless the instructor seriously intends to do so. As mentioned earlier, this assessment technique should be provided soon after a reading is complete, so that the information is still fresh in the learner's minds. Keeping the survey short and simple is key, as this is meant to be a quick activity. As suggested in the text, adding up the answers to the multiple choice and yes/no questions would give an idea as to which way the students are leaning in regards to readings. Looking for patterns in short answers and comments will also bring light to recurring themes and responses. Given my own classroom situation, I would not pinpoint specific responses and bring them forward to the students, but instead bring out prominent feedback that showed up often during rating sheets. If the content of the activity was found to be irrelevant, too simple, or too challenging, I would emphasize points that may not have been so obvious to students that could be beneficial and apply to their learning, as well as how the information relates. At the same time, I would take their word into consideration and look into modifying or even removing the material the next time I taught the course. Depending on how severe the feedback was, I would also be open to a short verbal discussion as to why the learners reacted the way they did. If the reading was found to have left a positive impression on the majority of students, I would encourage a short group discussion as to why and how the reading was beneficial, relevant, or worthwhile, so that those who may not have seen its merits may gain some insight into hearing others' words. And that's it for my video.